Rachel, I'm so excited to be chatting with you. And I also want to share that we got to hang out a little bit earlier today and just talking a bit about your background. And so I'm particularly interested in your vast years of experience and maybe translating it to how we've evolved into this generative AI space. But I first want to just start with, Sur La Table has this amazing range of the products and offerings that it's giving to its customers. It has the brick and mortar side, it has the cooking experiences and classes side, and I have bought cooking classes for friends, so thank you for providing that. But I would love to just hear a bit around how you're thinking about this wider, larger customer experience.
Yeah. So, the customer is the customer to us. It doesn't matter what channel she's in or they're in. It's the customer. So we continue to, strive to have that unified customer perspective. We also know customer journeys are not linear, right? And I don't know if they ever have been, but they're certainly not today. And so it's really important for us to continue to look at that customer lens in that unified way and understand how she's evolving her customer or her shopping journey, if you will, and adapt and use any kind of customer insights that we have through AI and now I'll say Gen AI. So yeah, it's understanding the different channels that we have.
Yeah.
What are the touch points? How can we leverage the data in that unified way through the AI tools that we have today and beyond?
And so I love, when we talked about this a bit with Raj, but this idea that the search and the shopping experience can really come from anywhere. And I love that you shared that the customer journey is nonlinear. I remember seeing roadmaps, and it just always looks like it's a straight line. And so I love that you guys are already kind of reinventing that. Can you share a bit around maybe how you're using AI or even non-AI and just research mechanisms to better understand that non-linear world?
Sure. So I think it's a couple different ways, right? Someone had mentioned earlier today that, experiences tend to maybe start through search, right? Customer searching. And we know that. We can see it through our traffic, our PDP, product detail page traffic has skyrocketed, right? So we know the importance of your product detail pages today. So we're seeing it through traffic. We're seeing it through the engagement in different ways, different channels, how they're coming in to our site, how they're coming into our store, right? What's causing that? What's triggering that traffic? And definitely leveraging a lot of tools. Content Square is something that I've personally used since 2017. The customer behavioral analytics. I can see not through clickstream data, but actual behavioral analytics, what that behavior is, what those customer journeys are, and how they're changing. And, again, it's not just online, offline device type. It's all of that plus, the TikToks and what have you. Yeah.
I really appreciate just how integrated you're imagining this persona to be, and you're kind of thinking about their entire life, right? Or their entire day, and not just the one moment where maybe they're buying something on your page or in your store. I would love to hear a bit around how you're evolving that into the generative AI space. I know that you're constantly reinventing what you guys are working on, but maybe you can share a few use cases on what you've put into practice. I know you'd mentioned PDP, so maybe something was related to that.
So many places to go with that. So, just a couple of use cases I think that are that hopefully viewers, listeners, what have you, can maybe learn from or cause them to ideate off of this or riff off that. A couple of things, right? We definitely don't care about the customer journey. Oh, great, she checked out, she bought something from the store online and we're done, or she took a cooking class and we're done. Did she get the right product? Is she using it? It's so important that we know that they're actually using the product, because that will most likely mean that they're enjoying the product and lower returns or whatever it is, right? So we are definitely looking at it holistically. But some of the use cases that we've done leveraging Gen AI or things that we're also looking into doing, things like we know Wizmo, where's my order calls tend to take up 45% of call volume with your call center or customer service center, right? that doesn't require a person to answer those questions. So how can we automate that in a way to allow our customer service agents to answer the questions or the calls that do require someone, a human, to answer? So leveraging Gen AI to do, human-like chat, so customers are getting those questions answered that way, has really decreased our call volume substantially to allow our customer service agents to focus on customers in a more meaningful way. So it's also decreased the wait time that customers are waiting to get those questions answered or to make a purchase, right? It's not just about answering questions. It's also they want to buy something. So I want them to buy something. So that's one way, that we're already leveraging Gen AI, if you will. But things like being able to show a photo or an image of a product and having the product description written, through a chat GPT or something like that, and then allowing the copy editor, copywriter to validate and humanize it is something that we're also doing. And then the reverse of that is actually providing a product description and having the image or the product image created is something that we're assessing, if you will.
Yeah.
And then just recently, I needed to have scripts written for videos through, teleprompter.
Not this one. This one is
not this one.
improv.
This is, yeah, absolutely. Although I probably should have. It's okay. Next time. I needed to write many scripts for video production. And we wrote the scripts and they were great, right? But they take a long time. And it was generally for, one segment of customer, right? Well, I'll say like the casual cook. But I then took those scripts and uploaded them through like a chat GPT and said, give me, the same type of script for, professional chef, and multiple cohorts or segments of customers. And what I got back was fantastic, like foundationally fantastic. And then people were just able to riff or improve it off of that. I mean, it just saves so much time. And the velocity of what you can get back is, in my opinion, sets you apart from your competitor, but also really gives the customers more of your attention just to make their experiences better going forward. Because those are some of those use cases.
I love that. And if they're a casual cook, they don't want to hear the script of the fancy, chefs that have taught in every single Michelin star. I love that. And there's so much of what you just brought up that I'm just going to try and pull out a couple of these nuggets. But the first on that use case of chatbots where you said, hey, 45% of the incoming questions are the where's my order. There was a step that your team took before that, which was figuring out what the data looks like today. And I love that you're talking about this kind of pre-evaluation step before even going into an AI use case. That is such a smart kind of measure twice, cut once. And then the second piece that I would love to kind of dive into more is on the human in the loop. And you kind of mentioned this twice, both a customer support agent might use it, or your copywriter might use this, draft and then cater it, or you might write the first draft and then ChatGPT or something similar might create, 20 different versions of it. So what role do you see humans, your team maybe playing in this generative AI space?
So, first and foremost, Sur La Table is, owned by marquee brands and CSC Generation. CSC Generation as a company is all about acquiring retailers or brands that are maybe in a bad business situation or spot and need to evolve. And they're very much focused on technology and innovation. And Gen AI is that innovation. That's the foundation of innovation. So for us, it's been really easy to almost start with it through operational excellence with the lens of the customer, right? All that's important, I'll say equally, but it's really allowing us to identify where the problems, whether it's operationally problems, right? And I think the call center is probably a good example of that, or not a problem, but something we want to maybe improve,
of course,
efficiency-wise. And how can we do that? And it's almost, the thing that I love about CSC and Sur La Table is no idea is too crazy, right? And it's not just the tech teams that you're bringing these ideas to or problems to solve that understand the the ability and the unlock through Gen AI. I mean, my legal team and CFO also understand it, right? So it makes those conversations, I think, easier to have at that level. And that's truly how we are approaching this, is understanding where the opportunities are, or the problem areas, and how can we make it better and faster through Gen AI, and what does that look like? So I feel like it really is, you have to understand the problem you're trying to solve before you can solve it, right? What am I building if I don't know who I'm building it for, or what the goals are? So it really is about, I think, understanding, at the get-go, what are those opportunities, and what is that right solution? And I think you said it earlier today, maybe doing it for yourself, or internally first, to sort of validate some of those. I think it's validating the opportunity or the solution that you're using. But I think part of it too, or at least from what I've seen, it's also about bringing the team along on that journey, right? And I think making them see the opportunity or get comfortable with it. And when I say team, I don't mean the leadership team that I had mentioned before, but I mean the team where you're like, okay, if I'm not taking those calls, what does that mean, right? Or if I'm not writing that copy, what does that mean? And then showing them the possibility of what that means that they're going to be able to work on going forward is really important. And I think will drive the success of whatever the project is that you're working on.
You're such a fantastic leader with even just how you're thinking about this problem. And I think you're speaking to not only similar, e-commerce players, but like the things that you're describing, having data, figuring out who your customer persona is, what their actual problem is, reinventing your methodologies around how you're evaluating not just the customer journey, but also the shopping and engagement experience. You're describing something that tons of enterprises are dealing with right now, where they go, I'm sitting on a ton of data. I know I have a customer that needs help. How do I merge these in this new AI age? And so I would just love to hear where you think that opportunity space is, specifically with bringing in your whole team, maybe even listening to ideas that non-leadership might have. Could you share any examples there?
Yeah, I think, one that's really easy, regardless of the industry you're in, right?
Yeah.
Whether you're selling pots and pans or pants, or you're in healthcare, everyone has marketing. Everyone is trying to create the right message for their customer at the right time. And so I feel like that's kind of an easy-ish place to start, that everyone understands that, right? You don't need to be a marketing expert to know the importance of that. So I think, at least in my experience, that's been a really easy go-to place to start, whether it's email testing, subject line testing. Again, that's like really easy to test the waters there, understand the value, and kind of prove it out to get that overall understanding of the opportunity, and then start to think bigger. Is like maybe an approach that I think I've seen value in.
There's even this again, detail in what you shared and how you shared it. I think a lot of people see these demos of AI systems creating an entire drip campaign, right, with 20 emails and 100 different versions. But one thing that I loved in what you said, and I've loved a lot of what you said, that it is not just drafting the 20 emails and having someone edit it, but you're talking about it's not just 20 emails, it's one email. It's not one email, it's the header, like just starting with the subject line and figuring out, maybe you do A/B testing and some are AI generated and you're able to test that. Like I love how easy that on-ramp might be for some folks.
Absolutely. And then I think evolving from there, right? That's the really exciting piece, is, the scripts that that we wrote, and throwing them in there and saying like, hey, can you make these, for this segment, or make them friendlier, and you start to kind of like edit it, right? And then you're throwing it back in and kind of doing it again. And what you get back is even better and closer to what you wanted. And I think a part of it is also on us to understand how can we be better in what we're asking for it to deliver back, right? What's that output? And it all starts with like how you're asking or how you're approaching it is so important. But yeah, I think it's also evolving even as you're testing and learning and just getting better.
I mean, I completely agree. It's this constant iteration, not taking something at face value and running with it.
Sure.
What tips do you have? What advice do you have for similar, leaders who might be later into the generative AI journey, might just be starting. Maybe they've hit a few walls and they're trying to figure out how to break through. What sort of tips would you give to folks that are looking for that evolution and have maybe been blocked?
I love thinking outside the box. I just think curiosity and asking how can we be better? How can we be faster? Where are our opportunities? And pie in the sky thinking. Like, I love that. Flying cars someday. Like, yeah, yes, put me on that road, right? So I really encourage, if you want to be delivering to your customer what you know that they want and need, and maybe you don't even know what they want and need, but you need to figure it out because your competitors are, right? We're all fighting for wallet share right now. And so I think just being smart in your approach, and this is such a goosebump moment right now, and like where things are and how fast things are evolving. If you are not thinking this way, or this approach is not a part of your conversation, you're going to be too late, right? And I don't know if it's just retail in of itself is pretty innovative in my opinion, but it feels like it's moving quite fast even now. So I just encourage a lot of pie in the sky thinking, and I'm telling you, it's easier than you may realize to see that Gen AI will enable so much of that pie in the sky thinking can be less pie in the sky and easier to execute, and just enable velocity is super exciting in my opinion. And I was an industrial engineer in a prior life, and it's all about like efficiency and like that's sort of how I started my career. And so even now, when I think about how can I be more efficient and effective, this is the answer.
You've shared so many wonderful nuggets in our short conversation. Things like starting with data, figuring out where the problem actually is, things like incorporating a human into that actual process and working back and forth with AI, not just a one-off edit. And of course, always maintaining trust. And it doesn't matter if you're thinking about the biggest idea in the world or editing one subject line, just figuring out those little moments or big moments of efficiency. So thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. Really appreciate it, Rachel.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks.